Hi guys, my name is Ari. I'm the Bookish Freaking MB and welcome to my channel. For those of you who have just subscribed, thank you. For those of you who have been riding with me, thank you as well. Today I wanted to do a short check-in, tell you what I've read for Latinx Heritage Month. I haven't read that much. I'm a slow reader, so bear with me. I want to get one or two books in before it's done, so I'm here to also show you some of the new books that I got that just so happen to be by Latinx authors. So without further ado, this is my first book of Latinx Heritage Month. It is called The House of Impossible Beauties. It is a beautiful story that follows a fictional version of Angel Extravaganza, who picks up the gauntlet and starts a house after Hector Extravaganza dies. She becomes the sole house mother or house parent and takes in four people who, because of circumstances, end up on the street and not being able to support themselves. Trigger warning: there are instances of murder, HIV, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and drug use. Also, underage alcohol use. So let those be your trigger warnings. And I love this book. It does rally up a lot of sympathy for queer people, and it also gives a very cohesive view of what it is like to be Latino and, well, Latinx and queer, and also shows us a glimpse of what it feels like to have a found family, chosen family, and it also gives us a glimpse of some of the ballroom scene. I wouldn't say a lot of the ballroom scene is portrayed in the book, and that is the one qualm I do have with this book. It should have had more ballroom scenes. It did have one in particular where one of the extravaganzas goes to a ball and participates in one of the categories, and I'm not gonna tell you what happens because it is a book. I want you to be curious about what's inside of the book and actually go ahead and read it for yourself. So that one ballroom scene was great. I wish we had more of that ballroom scene. I wish there were more instances where you saw that atmosphere, but in the end, it is a good book. It is a story of love and sometimes hopelessness and hopefulness, and just um of it's a story of finding love in unexpected places and also becoming closer to a stranger that eventually becomes family than your own blood family. And unfortunately, that is the consensus among a lot of queer people. They end up out on the street and not able to support themselves, and these houses take and pick them up and bring them in, give them a roof over their heads and a place to stay, food and clothes on their backs, and takes care of them. People who have been refused, thrown out, and essentially made to feel like they're less than. And I think that having more of those ballroom scenes would have shown how encouraging it was to be in the ballroom scene, in that atmosphere, in that, just in that culture. And I think that would have been, it would have uplifted this book a lot higher than it was if it would have had a little bit more of that ballroom, culture in the book. But other than that, I would give this a 3.5 out of 5. It is a amazing book, and I hope that other people are interested in reading this book, because it is I think it's an important narrative to put forth, because it does put forth a lot of the women that were in the ballroom scene, and it does portray more of them, whereas a lot of times in media, the men in the ballroom culture are the ones that are being pushed to the forefront, when sometimes the women are the ones who are doing all the work. Um, the second book I read was Lovezona. I loved this book. I told Romina, yo, you had no right, absolutely no right to make me feel this way. It is an amazing book. I I love this book because I relate to it on a cellular level, because I know what it feels like to be isolated, to be a person whose parents kind of lock you up and not want you to explore the world and, have a life of your own. And this one, I think more so, even though more so than not, her story, Manu's story, is because it results that way because Manu is on the run from two different entities. One of them is immigration, because she is undocumented, and the other is her family, her father's family, who are at first what they think are drug dealers, but really there's so much more underneath there. The world building is amazing. Once you actually figure out what the heck is going on, you're just like, oh shoot, amazing. Just utterly amazing. Once you get into Manu's world, and she is essentially left alone to fend for herself after her mother gets caught by ICE, she runs away and ends up discovering so many things about herself that she did not know, and things about her father that she didn't know. So in essence, you see her becoming more, so much more than she was when she was being locked up by her mother to hide her from people who might harm her. And she just flourishes and becomes friends with so many people in the process, and these people end up risking everything for her. So in the end, I feel like how I felt after I got away from my parents, and I kind of got to explore the world for myself and meet friends that were actually good for me and things like that. So Lobizona is an amazing story. Like I said, I related to this book on a cellular level, and It's just an amazing book. Go ahead, read it, soak it in, and wait so impatiently for that second book. I give this one 5 out of 5 stars. Third book I'm actually still in the midst of. Say hello to Lieutenant Uhura from Star Trek, who is marking my place in this book. I'm just playing. But anyways, I am reading Mexican Gothic. This book is so thrilling, frustrating, spooky, and amazing. Like, I can literally see this book being turned into this movie and also being shot with one of those old Hollywood cameras, because it would be just so artistically pleasing to see it filmed that way. But in this book, you have Noemi. Noemi goes to check on her cousin, who is living with her husband and has sent home a letter that is quite alarming, that points to maybe her needing some psychological help. But then when she gets to the house, she finds out that maybe her cousin might not be so crazy. And she begins to you meet all of these characters: Virgil, Florence, Francis, the maids, the butler, all of these people. And it's like they're in on this conspiracy to make them feel like they're crazier than they actually are when these things are actually happening. And then you have Noemi going into town and finding out various things about the family, and like all of this points to craziness. And you see Noemi so worried about helping her cousin that she just doesn't want to leave. So, with all of that said, right now, this book is about to get like a 4.5 out of 5, because my wig has been snatched multiple times. Because every time you think that it's gonna go one way, it goes so far left. So far left that it leaves any discernible, actual, directional anything. It's just crazy. And I love the writing. Um, Silvia Moreno Garcia actually writes very beautifully. It paints such vivid pictures, and like sometimes you can see these scenes playing out in your head, and when I see them play out in my head, I see these scenes that are shot with these old Hollywood cameras, possibly just a little bit, yellow on the screen, just everything. I love this book so far. I just have to see how it ends. Once I'm done with it, I will do a blog or a full video review of this book. But as it stands, this is probably one of the best books I've read in 2020, and you can put that on the list. Okay? So, yeah, I am thoroughly enjoying Mexican Gothic. I did not think I would, just because sometimes horror does not go so well for me. But I am like really enjoying this. It's so terrifying, and I'm loving it, and it scares me a little bit that I'm actually loving it. So, with that said, That is the third book that I am trying to finish reading for Latinx Heritage Month. And there are some books here that I acquired in the last few weeks that I want to read as well, but I am so conflicted because I know some of these books are my very, very, very anticipated reads, and once they are done, I'm going to be sad. And I am just indecisive about what I want to read first. Of course, I've had Cemetery Boys for quite some time. I just got my book plate actually for Cemetery Boys. So thanks, Aiden, that it looks amazing inside of the book. So yeah, Aiden and his publisher, oh my gosh, the pre-order stuff is beautiful. Anyways, if he sees this, oh my gosh. But yeah, um I just got Gods of Jade and Shadow, which is written by the same author as Mexican Gothic, and I am thoroughly looking forward to reading this, especially after reading Mexican Gothic. I want to just absorb everything from this book. But once I do finish Mexican Gothic, there leaves the conflict of, figuring out what I want to read next. This might be the next solid read that I read. Everything else is tentative. If I don't read some of these books now, they will be read for Halloween, just to stay in the spooky spirit. But I do plan on reading this one next after Mexican Gothic because I kind of want to stay with this author for a little while just to absorb what I have here, cuz oh man, it's amazing when you find a writer that piques your interest this way, and I want to keep that going. um oh yeah, this one came out in the last few weeks actually. I think this came out the 15th. Yeah, this came out the 15th, I think. Anyways, this actually is a very queer book. It's not so much spooky as very queer. I heard that there is a trans boy. Is a pansexual um character, and these two on the cover are going to enter into a beauty pageant in their town called Meteor. And I guess they end up becoming really good friends, and they have their little crew and everything. And it's just amazing. I've heard really, really good things. I have not read it. I'm going into this book kind of blind because I have not read any real synopsises. I just don't know. I got it as a gift and thought I'd look it up, see if anybody really liked it. And turns out quite a few people like this book. So I'm going to check it out. I don't know when, but I am sure I will enjoy it when I do read it. I'm going into this completely blind, guys. So I only know snippets. I know there is a pansexual character, there is a trans character, and she's in love with the trans character, I think. I don't know. I am speculating at the moment, but I will definitely get to this eventually. Um I absolutely loved Marco Shiro's first book. Their first book, named Anger is a Gift, was amazing. It was so horrifying, yet beautiful at the same time. And it completely gutted me. And I am so, I was just so emotional after I was finished with that book. And even now, I am debating whether or not I ever want to read that book ever again, just because the tears, the snot, it was bad. I was completely and utterly destroyed. Okay, Mark Oshiro, they are one of the best writers of this time. Such vivid images and scenes, and just makes you want to cry your little eyes out. It's just a lot. Like, the last book that he wrote was just so heavy. It it completely, like, the fact that the police brutality in that book we can still relate to on such a cellular level. It's just, oh my gosh, that book is something that I'll probably pick up again in the very, very distant future. But oh my gosh, that book was beautiful. It was amazing. It was heart wrenching. Everything about that book was just, it was great. But I do have their second book named Each of Us a Desert. This book's book it this book follows a character named Sochil, who walks the desert and collects people's stories. And essentially she's like a human archive, basically. I've heard that this is like a Latinx version of the Deep, where someone is tasked with um taking on other people's stories that eventually become a burden to them. So I am completely interested in this. I have not read The Deep yet, but I've heard so many great things, and I do plan on reading it at some point once I get my hands on it, because I'm a physical reader. I don't do well with ebooks. I do okay with audiobooks, but I do want to explore The Deep eventually. But this one, I've been putting it off for quite some time. We I will revisit this book eventually. I do plan on reading it. It's just, I have heard so many things, and I don't know how I can take this emotionally. So it will probably be read sometime this month, but not yet. Not just yet. Um from what I understand, this one is a retelling of a story. Um it's called Dark Deepest Red, and the Dark Deepest Red. Oh, Dark and Deepest Red. It retells a story about some red shoes that make people dance uncontrollably, apparently. And I guess there's a queer twist on this one. So I plan on reading this. Um, the author of this book um, also co-wrote Miss Meteor with Taylor K. Mejia, and I am like literally this one came out this year too, and I am thoroughly anticipating reading this one. So this might actually be read before I read anything else after I read Gods of Jade and Shadow. But yeah, I got all of these new books, and now it's pushing my TBR back further. So I will be reading this eventually too. I'm going into this one kind of blind too, but I've heard some really good things about Anna Marie McLemore in general. Just their writing style is amazing and things like that. And I said, maybe I'll put this on my wish list, and someone went ahead and sent me a copy. So I am not complaining. It will be read. It's just I have so much in my brain right now, and I'm not very good at making certain decisions. So we'll figure it out. Well, I'll figure it out, and I will get back to letting get back to reading and all of that stuff now. And then I will possibly be choosing my next book after I finish Mexican Gothic. But this was supposed to be shorter than this. I am at 26 minutes now, and I did not mean for this to boil over that much. But I got what needed to be said out, and that's a good thing. So I will be doing a panel tonight. If you get to see this tonight, it is at if you get to see this before then, it is at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be talking with booktubers Audrey, Rosia, Jessica, and Taylor about being Latinx online. It is part of Latinx Heritage Month Book Fest, and I am going to be hosting it. So go ahead and grab a chair, and I will see you guys there, maybe, possibly. Anyways, without further ado, I will bid you farewell to everyone in every time zone, every universe, every realm. You have a good one. Peace.